Rob Tebbutt for ID Boxing here with unbeaten super lightweight star of the future, Dalton Smith. We're here at the lovely Steel City Gym in Sheffield. Dalton, always a pleasure. How you doing?
Always a pleasure. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm very well, thanks. Very well. Always nice to be down to the gym today. You did 12 rounds of sparring today. Remarkable, seeing as you're not a mark on you. But how are you?
That's it. I'm good. End of the week. Like I said, good to get 12 rounds in, and yeah, feeling fit. Good week of training, and not long to go till fight night now.
Not long to go at all. It'll actually be a lot less when this goes out because it's going to go out in fight week, of course. But you're sort of a week and a half, 2 weeks out from your fight. Headlining in Sheffield.
Yep.
I know that's something that's been very close to your heart, something you've really wanted to do in your short professional career. Must be really excited by that.
Yeah, massively excited, and it come a little bit of a surprise to me. And I was talking with my team, STN, Sean O'Toole, and there was like, I think we can get this headline at the Sheffield Arena, and I was like, really? And I said it before. I think I was at the Galahad fight, probably 8 months before or something, and I'd have never expected to be headlining it myself, that soon. So yeah, it's cherry on the top for this one, and one I'm really up for.
It's one of the things that I've said, I think I've mentioned to you in the past as well. Over the years you've had, of course, going back, you've got Nassim Hamed and kind of his era of fighters. Then you had Kell Brook, of course, now retired from the sport after the win against Amir Khan. So, the stage is set and it's open for a new star in Sheffield, and I'm sure you're hoping that's going to be yourself. Yeah,
that's it. Those greats have come through, and, I believe, obviously boxing's a short career, and, I believe I'm the new crop now coming through, and, I really do believe I'll be one of those, those headlining names, like the greats we've had over the past years, and I feel like I'll be that next generation coming through now in Sheffield.
Boxing for the British title as well. I know from conversations with yourself and of course STN and Sean O'Toole that it's not been the easiest thing to get sorted for yourself, but you must be over the moon to box for the British title.
Yeah, over the moon, and I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, and everything happens in time, at the right time for me. So finally got the British title now, and yeah, I believe the timing's right. I've done my apprenticeship. I've had those step ups, and I've boxed some good kids. To say I've only had 11 fights, and I believe I'm at the stage now where I'm at that that championship level, and I'm up there in the main domestic scene.
Now, some of the names that I mentioned, of course, were Sam Maxwell, Akeem Ennis-Brown. You've landed on Sam O'Mason, who is, I think it's fair to say, not as well known as those opponents. What do you know about him? What are you expecting from him on fight night?
Me and Sam, we know each other well. He's been on the professional scenes a lot longer than me. I just remember going down to the Ponds Forge Arena, and there was like Scott Jenkins and Sam O'Mason was on, and I was only 14 at the time. So he's a lot more experienced than me in the professionals. But we sparred before. We know each other, pretty well. So we're no strangers to each other. So we know each other pretty well, and I'm expecting a great fight.
One of the good things as well about that, of course, being a home show, but it's very much a Steel City show as well. Yeah. You've got a lot of your camp mates and your stable mates on the card as well. Must be great to headline a bill and hopefully a clean sweep for the Steel City Gym.
That's it, me headlining, also being able to get the young lads in. Obviously Junaid Boston, Nico Levers. So yeah, it's a Steel City show, and it's, I think, one we're all going to show up for and put on big performances.
Still very much kind of a young vibe in the gym. Of course, Sonny Edwards, world champion, but Sonny is, while it feels like he's been around a lot longer than he has, is still relatively young in his career. But you kind of assume in that stage now, fighting for a British title, headlining as kind of a, not to call you old, of course, but a senior figure in the gym.
That's it. I'm one of the big boys now. I can give Sonny some stick. I've got a bit of ammunition for him now. But no, like you said, we're the stable my dad's got, we're all young, we're up and coming, and none of us have reached the prime yet. Even Sonny's a world champion. He's still a baby in the game. So we've still got a lot of progression to do in our careers, and I believe in the next 10 years, it's going to be a real solid stable what my dad's got.
I'm always keen to speak to fighters who are in camps with young whippersnappers, as we like to call them, kind of pushing them on in the gym every day and stuff like that. It must be really good motivation for you to have your Nico Levers, your Florian Mark, who of course not boxing on that card, John Dock, people kind of pushing you on the circuits, and when it's hard, having people to bounce off every day.
That's it, and it's the experience we've got, even though we're all so young, the experience we've got, in the gym, and there's no egos in this gym. I always say it, and you see it from when you speak to my dad. He's not about the limelight. He hates the cameras. So there's no egos in the gym, and anybody who comes in the gym with an ego, they don't last very long because they don't fit in. People don't feed that ego to them because, we come in the gym, we're all one, we're a team, and we help each other. So, I think that's why we breed success.
Yeah, your dad, of course, Grant Smith, trainer here at Still City Gym. I think I get one interview out of him a year or so like that, which is, to be fair, quite good going for your dad, because he doesn't really do interviews in general, but he managed to sneak and slope out when I was doing the interview with Sonny earlier. But hopefully I'll catch up with him some other time. But as you mentioned there, not somebody who craves the limelight. He is very much somebody who likes to stay behind the scenes and work and develop his fighters. How are you getting on with him? Because I know over the times, we're working with family in my previous occupations, which are not professional fighting. Sometimes it can be quite interesting. How are things getting on with you?
Good. I always say don't fix something if it's not broken, and I'm at a stage in my career where, I've done everything I've set out to do. So I wouldn't be with anyone else apart from my dad. If you can't trust your family, you can't trust nobody. And my dad's got my back all the way, and he's one of the best coaches in the world, and he's starting to get the recognition, and the proof's in the pudding now with my dad. So, there's going to be one journey, and that's me and my dad.
Of course, you are inevitably going to be biased. Not only is he your trainer, but he is your dad. But you've just touched upon there, starting to get the credit now with the work he's done with Sonny. Of course, previously Charlie Edwards, former WBC flyweight champion. Do you feel he's a bit underappreciated, underrated? Maybe the fact that he doesn't run around and jump in front of the camera at every opportunity. Do you feel like he does go slightly under the radar as a coach?
I'd say so, yeah. His name's probably not out there as much as the other guys, because not many people hear of him, or, the only time you see him or hear him is on fight night. You can usually hear him in the corner. So that's probably a reason why, but, my dad gets his success from, what he does in the gym, not what he puts on social media or anything. So he's a guy who likes to be behind the scene, and that works. Some fighters don't. Some people like the ego. Some people like the limelight. But my dad's behind the scenes, and some fighters need that.
You're 140 pounds. Obviously, a division where I say until very recently all of the belts were held by a certain Josh Taylor. He has since relinquished the WBC title, previously the WBA title as well. So it's a good opportunity in the next 18 months or so for some vacant belts or new blood in the division. I'm sure you're going to class yourself as part of that new blood. How soon do you think it's going to be before you start eyeing those world titles or stepping through the levels?
I believe I've still got a lot of learning to do. I'm fighting for the British title next, and it's down to my team. All I've got to do is turn up, fight, put a good performance in, and win. That's my job, and I tend to not see too far in the future, because I set myself goals, but I do one fight at a time, and then eventually we'll get there. But I don't think I'm a million miles away. I'd say in the next 2-3 years, I believe I'll put my stamp down, and I'm going to be one of those big names in the 140 division.
Now, of course, at different stages of your careers, but everybody loves, including myself, to build a little domestic rivalry. One of the names on the other side of the fence, I guess, promotionally speaking, politically speaking in the UK, Adam Azim, somebody lightweight come super lightweight. What have you made of his early start to his career, and is that a fight that you could potentially see happening somewhere down the line?
Yeah, like I say, Adam's a great kid, great fighter. Both brothers are. I spent a bit of time with him down when he was down. I was sparring Campbell for the Garcia fight, so. I've always known the Azim brothers, they're good talent, great fighters. We know of each other through the amateur scenes, even though he was a couple of years younger than me. So yeah, there are potential fights down the line, and like I said, the 140 division is packed with talent, packed with fighters. Just domestically. So they're big fights down the line. We're both building on our careers now, and you never say never. But I rate the Azim brothers as they're good fighters, good talents.
And of course, at 140 pounds, just below you, at 135, you've got your Devin Haney's. Teofimo Lopez is making his 140 pound debut. A lot of talent there at 135 pounds for you to hopefully one day down the line welcome them to the 140 pound division.
That's it. And, you look at their age. They're young, so they're going to grow. They're going to fill out into the weights. I believe they'll move up in the future. But like I say, I don't tend to look too far in the future, because even when you set things out, they never happen. So I've seen trying to get the British title. So I take each day as it comes, each fight as it comes, and I leave that to my team and my dad to they plot where my career needs to be.
I've just spoken to Sonny Edwards for 6 hours. No, it was actually only 1 hour. But one of the things that he said of you and your development was that he felt that in the last couple of fights in particular that you'd really started to settle in and find yourself as a fighter, knowing what works for you, knowing what doesn't work for you, and just being able to, I guess, polish and tighten up the things that you were looking to work on. Just expand on that if you can and tell me specifics or as specific as you want to be ahead of your fight, of course.
It all comes down to experience and development. You know, I was 23 when I turned over. You know, that's young, and you know, some people believe the hype. You know, they can have a couple early fights and they think, oh, I'm ready for the big time, but you're not. You know, you've got to learn your trade. You've got to learn to become a championship fighter, and that's what I've done. You know, I've stayed in the gym. We've took good fights at the right time. You know, we're not fought any mugs in boxing. So, you know, I've done my development stage, and you know, I believe I'm maturing into a solid 140-pound fighter. And you know, I think that's proven in my performances now. You know, obviously being in the gym around with Sonny and the experience he's got in the boxing knowledge. You know, we help each other out, and you know, when we've got faults, we'll be like, no, we need to work on that. That's where you're lacking. And you know, I just feel like I'm maturing. I'm settling into the weight. You know, I'm becoming a solid fighter now.
Now, Sheffield City in general is a very sports-mad city, of course, football, boxing and what have you. One of the things that we all know about you is you're a mad Sheffield Wednesday fan. Yeah. What does it mean for you to have so much support from the club? I see you modelling the new kit, you're doing this. Yeah. I mean, you'll be playing left wing soon, I think, pretty much, if you carry on with them.
I don't think they'll be getting promotion if that happens. They see me running down left wing, but no, it's, you know, I feel honoured and privileged, you know, how the club's got behind me, and you know, I haven't had to push that. They've really got behind me off their own back, and they've wanted to do it themselves. So, you know, I've got a lot of time for the club and what they've done for me, and you know, how they promoted me and you know, made me feel welcome. You know, they didn't have to do that. You know, they don't really get any gain out of doing that. So it shows what, you know, the behind the scenes, what the club actually is. You know, how it's actually run, and you know, they care about the supporters. So, you know, I'll always cherish that for what they've done for me, and you know, even from the early stage of me turning professional. So, you know, it's up to me to bring some good nights, and you know, my number one goal is to, you know, sell out Hillsborough Stadium one day. So, you know, that's up to me. I've got to keep winning, and you know, I want to bring big nights for the supporters.
It's something that I've spoken about in the past to Tony Bellew, of course, mad Everton fan, Josh Warrington, mad Leeds fan, about growing up supporting and loving a football team, and then all of a sudden you're now in a position whereby they're working with you and you're able to kind of not tap into what they do, but you know, you have very much a partnership. It must be a great feeling for somebody who's followed the club for so many years.
Of course, you know, to sell out a football stadium, and especially the one what you've supported, you know, for a long time, and you know, it's, you know, the dreams come true, and you know, those guys have done it, and there's no reason why I can't.
Just want to pick your brains on a couple of fights before I let you go. I know you've got to go and do another session. Apologies for keeping you. Actually, blame Sonny, but we'll move on. We mentioned earlier on the 140-pound division, Josh Taylor, of course, coming off the back of a very controversial win over Jack Catterall earlier on this year. It looks as though that fight is going to happen again, the rematch towards the end of the year. First and foremost, how did you see the first fight, and how do you see a rematch if it takes place at the end of the year?
I've been asked so many times on this fight. Obviously, I thought Catterall won the first fight, you know, but it's, you know, that's in the past now. It's done. Nothing can change, you know. But you know, we look at the fight. You could see Taylor. You know, he started coming into the fight, and you know, Catterall's a very, very clever fighter. He's very underrated, and you know, he's very relaxed, and he knows how to control the pace without doing much. And I think Taylor struggled with that a little bit. But you know, they've got another camp. They've got. You know, they're both world-level fighters, and they can both adapt. So, you know, you know, the next fight will be interesting.
Speaking of interesting, rumours are afoot about, well, to be fair, by the time this goes out, I think it probably will be announced, or maybe it's fallen through, so maybe we'll cut this out. But anyway, Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. That's not a fight that I thought that I'd be saying, well, ever really, but certainly not about 6 or 8 weeks ago. Seems to have captured the imagination of the boxing fan base and indeed the casual fan base. What do you think to that one?
You know, as a boxing fan, why not? You know, from what, you know, the rivalry, what the dad had, to see the sons, you know, carrying that legacy on from them. It's, you know, as a boxing fan, you know, it's very rare you see things happen like that. And, you know, it's obviously the weight difference and stuff, you don't know how you know, that's going to affect them. But as a boxing fan, you know, I'm fully into that. I'm tuning in.
I think that's the general feeling from everybody is that, yeah, it's a bit strange. I don't think but I'm definitely going to watch it.
Oh,
I think
100%.
it's one of those.
You'd be stupid not to.
And last but by no means least, of course, it wouldn't be right to not talk about Sonny Edwards, the IBF flyweight champion, who, again, by the time this comes out, could have announced a bout with Julio Cesar Martinez, a fight that we all know that he's been chasing for many, many years. I'm sure you'll be back in your stablemate and somebody that you've known for a very long time in that fight. But what an opportunity. And of course, if it does happen in Mexico City, an opportunity for a legitimately great win for a British fighter.
Of course, but that just sums Sonny up. That just shows what Sonny Edwards is. He's not scared of going to a backyard or, going to fight in altitude for, one of the pound for pound, best flyweights in the world. And, we've said it from the start, when Martinez, got those good wins and, came through and obviously won the title. Sonny said from day dot, I want that fight. And style-wise, I think he's made for Sonny. And, Sonny will cause nightmares for anybody. He's got that style where it's hard to judge the distance and it's hard to beat. We've said it from the start. Martinez has got the style. Sonny likes that style. And Sonny can adapt, so it'll be interesting. And I'm very confident. Sonny comes back with 2 belts.
Make the trip to Mexico?
Oh, 100% I'm there. I'm telling Sonny to watch his mouth. I don't fancy getting took hostage by some mad Mexican cartel, but no, it's going to be exciting.
Okay, well, I'll be out there anyway, Dalton, so I'll protect you.
That's it. I feel safe with that.
As always, real pleasure catching up with you. Thanks very much for sitting down with myself and ID Boxing here at Steel City Gym in Sheffield. Always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you in the ring August the 6th when you challenge. Well, you don't challenge, you compete for the vacant British title against Sam Mason.
But pleasure as always. Always enjoy being on your channel. And bring on fight night.